If today was your last day on earth, would you be proud of how you spent your time? Or would you regret the hours you gave away to fear, distraction, and meaningless things? I remember a season in my life when I thought I had all the time in the world. I would say, I'll start tomorrow. I'll work on my dreams later. I'll fix my habits when I'm ready. But one day, I visited a relative in the hospital. He was lying there, connected to machines, staring out of the window. He whispered to me, "Don't be like me. Don't waste your life waiting." That moment hit me harder than anything else ever did. It reminded me that time is not a guarantee, it's a gift, and wasting it is the biggest loss a human can suffer. Number 1. Time is the only currency you can't earn back. We live our days as if they are countless, but the truth is that time is the only currency we can never earn back once it slips through our hands. And I learned this not from books or speeches, but from life itself. Years ago, I had a friend named Daniel, full of ambition, always talking about how he would one day build his business, travel the world, and finally write the book that lived inside his heart. But every time I asked him when he would begin, he said, "When things settle down, when I have more money, when the timing is right." He was waiting for the perfect tomorrow, as if the universe was holding a reserved spot for him. But then something unexpected happened. A car accident took his life at just 34 years old. I remember sitting at his funeral, staring at the photographs of him smiling, his eyes always full of dreams, and realizing that the words "someday" had stolen everything from him. His story carved into me the reality that time is not a guarantee. It is a loan we don't know the terms of, and every sunrise is both a blessing and a warning that one less day remains in our account. You can lose money and earn it again, lose a job and find another, lose possessions and replace them, but the hours you waste scrolling through distractions, stuck in toxic relationships, or trapped in fear, those are gone forever, written in invisible ink across the pages of your life, with no refund, no do-over. Think about how easily we trade priceless hours for worthless things. Arguments that don't matter, procrastination that serves nothing, chasing approval from people who don't care. Every wasted hour is a silent thief that robs your future self of the life you could have built. When I think back to Daniel, I often wonder, what if he had started writing just one page a day? What if he had taken one small step toward his dream instead of waiting? Maybe his book would now sit on a shelf, inspiring lives. Maybe his journey would be celebrated. Maybe he would have left behind more than memories of what he planned to do. And that's the painful truth most people never want to face. Life doesn't wait for us to be ready. Time is a ruthless teacher because it only gives the test once. And if you fail to act, it doesn't hand you the paper again. This is why you must begin now, with whatever you have, wherever you are, because your clock is ticking, whether you use it or not. The danger is that most people don't realize the value of a day until they run out of them. But the wise choose to live as if every hour matters, because it does. You are not guaranteed another year, another week, or even another breath. And the sooner you embrace that truth, the more urgently you will live. Stop telling yourself you have time. You don't. Stop believing the lie that tomorrow will be easier. It won't. The person who respects time wins life, because time respected turns into growth, into legacy, into impact. Imagine looking back at your life years from now and realizing that instead of wasting your days, you built something that mattered. You loved deeply, worked courageously, lived fully, and left behind proof that you didn't just exist, you lived. That is what it means to honor the only currency that never comes back. So today, ask yourself, where are you spending your hours? Are you investing them in things that will matter in 10 years? Or throwing them away on things that won't matter in 10 minutes? Daniel's unfinished book reminds me daily, you don't get to decide how much time you have, but you do get to decide how to use the time you're given. And if you live with that urgency, your life won't be wasted. It will become a story worth remembering.
Number 2. Distraction is the thief of destiny. Distraction is the silent killer of dreams, the thief that robs you of your destiny without ever making a sound. And most of us don't even realize we are being robbed until it's too late, until we look back and see years wasted on things that never truly mattered. I once knew a young man named Arif, brilliant, full of ideas, always talking about building a tech startup that would change the lives of thousands. But every time I visited him, I saw him glued to his phone, scrolling endlessly through social media, getting lost in gossip, memes and meaningless videos. He told me, "I'll get to my project soon, I'm just relaxing." But those minutes of relaxation turned into hours, those hours turned into days, and soon days turned into years. I'll never forget the day I met him after almost a decade. He was still talking about the same idea, still saying one day I will, except now he was working a job he hated, drained and bitter, watching others succeed while his own dreams stayed locked inside him. And I realized then, distraction had stolen his destiny. The cruel thing about distraction is that it doesn't attack you with pain or warning signs. It lulls you into comfort, convinces you that you're not wasting time because you're entertained, occupied, or busy. But busy and productive are not the same thing. Every hour spent chasing notifications, watching others live their lives, or engaging in empty conversations is an hour stolen from the life you were meant to build. History is full of men and women who achieved greatness not because they were more talented than the rest, but because they learned to master their focus, to silence distractions, and guard their time like it was sacred. Think about it: the book you want to write, the business you dream of starting, the body you want to transform, the relationships you want to strengthen, all of it is waiting on the other side of your distraction. But if you keep choosing comfort over calling, you will end up like Arif, holding nothing but regret, knowing you had the talent, but never the discipline to protect your focus. And the scariest part is this: distraction doesn't just waste time, it reshapes your brain, rewires your habits, and builds a life of mediocrity brick by brick, day after day, until it becomes your permanent reality. Imagine being on your deathbed and realizing you didn't fail because you were incapable, but because you were distracted. That is a pain no one should carry. But the good news is this: you can break free today. You can choose to turn off the noise, to delete the apps, to limit the voices that drain you, to prioritize silence and solitude where your true creativity can breathe. Because when you cut distraction, you reclaim destiny. Focus is the superpower of the modern world, and those who master it rise above the noise to create lives of impact and purpose. The question you must ask yourself daily is simple: am I distracted or am I directed? One leads to a life of regret, the other to a life of fulfillment. I keep Arif's story close to me as a reminder that brilliance without focus is wasted, potential without discipline is buried, and dreams without action are just illusions. Don't let distraction be the thief that robs you quietly. Fight for your focus, because your destiny depends on it.
Number 3. Say no to what doesn't serve your growth. One of the greatest lessons life will ever teach you is that your power lies not only in the things you say yes to, but even more in the things you learn to say no to. Because every yes you give takes a piece of your time, your energy and your focus, and when you spend those pieces on things that do not serve your growth, you are silently destroying the future you were meant to build. I remember a woman named Sophia, one of the most gifted singers I had ever heard. Her voice had the kind of depth that could bring an entire room to tears, and from childhood, everyone knew she was destined for something remarkable. But Sophia had one struggle: she couldn't say no. She said yes when her friends asked her to go out night after night, even when she had early morning rehearsals. She said yes to family members who asked her to run errands, even when she needed time to practice. She said yes to people who wanted her energy, her attention, her emotional support, leaving her drained and distracted. For years she gave herself away in pieces, until the gift inside her began to dim. When I met her again years later, she wasn't on stage, she wasn't recording albums, she wasn't fulfilling her destiny. She was working in a small office, tired, unfulfilled, and still saying yes to everyone but herself. And in her quiet voice she confessed to me, "I wasted my life pleasing people who didn't even care if I succeeded." That confession burned into my soul, because I realized how many of us live like Sophia, chained by guilt, afraid of disappointing others, saying yes to invitations we don't want, to obligations that don't matter, to relationships that drain us, And in the process we say no to our own calling. But here is the truth that will set you free. Every time you say no to something that does not serve your growth, you are saying yes to your future, yes to your purpose, yes to the life you were born to live. Saying no is not selfish. It is sacred. It is an act of self-respect. It is the boundary line that protects your destiny. Think of the greatest achievers in history, the inventors, the artists, the leaders. They weren't people who said yes to everything. They were people who said no to distractions, no to mediocrity, no to the endless demands of others, because they understood that their time and energy were finite resources that had to be invested wisely. And the world is full of people who will gladly waste your time if you let them. The difference between living with regret and living with fulfillment often comes down to a single word. No to the toxic friend who never celebrates your growth. No to the job that keeps you stagnant. No to the habits that steal your energy. No to the distractions that keep you small. When you build the courage to say no, you create space for the yes that truly matters. The yes to your dream. The yes to your health. The yes to your calling. The yes to your soul. Sophia's story is my reminder of what happens when you don't guard that yes. Her voice could have healed the world, but because she never learned the power of no, the world never heard her song. Don't let that be your story. Refuse to waste your life on people and things that don't grow you. Every time you say no to what doesn't matter, you are protecting the greatness inside you, and when you protect your greatness, you become unstoppable. Number 4. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. One of the greatest lies that keeps people trapped in mediocrity is the belief that they must wait for the perfect moment to begin, as if life will someday deliver them a flawless window of opportunity where everything aligns, all obstacles, and the road becomes smooth. But the truth is, there is no perfect moment, only the moment you decide to act. I once knew a man named Karim who had an incredible talent for painting. His artwork was breathtaking, capturing emotions so deeply that people who saw his pieces felt like they were looking into their own souls. And he dreamed of holding exhibitions, selling his work, and sharing his gift with the world. But every time I asked him when he would start, his answer was always the same: when I save more money, when I get a better studio, when I have more time, when life is less busy. Karim waited and waited, convinced that one day the stars would align and he would finally begin. But years passed, responsibilities grew heavier, and the perfect moment never arrived. The last time I saw him, he had stopped painting altogether, his brushes gathering dust in a corner, and with sadness in his eyes he whispered, "I waited too long." That sentence has haunted me ever since, because it revealed a universal truth. Waiting for the perfect time is the fastest way to waste your life. Conditions will never be perfect. You will never feel completely ready. There will always be bills to pay, problems to solve, people to take care of, and challenges to face. But destiny doesn't wait. Purpose doesn't wait. Life doesn't wait. The people who build legacies are not those who had the most convenient timing, but those who dared to start in the middle of chaos, who used what little they had, who began before they were ready. The perfect moment is not something you find. It's something you create through action. Think of every invention, every masterpiece, every movement in history. It wasn't born in ideal conditions. It was born because someone had the courage to act, despite the condition. When you begin, even imperfectly, you ignite momentum, and momentum carries you forward, shaping the path as you walk it. The tragedy is that so many dreams die, not because they were impossible, but because people kept postponing them, waiting for someday that never came. Karim's unused brushes remind me daily that hesitation is a form of self-sabotage, and the cost of waiting is not just lost time, it is lost potential, lost opportunities, lost lives. If you're waiting for everything to be right, understand this: right never comes, but now is always here. Take the first step, even if it's small, even if it's messy, even if it scares you, because progress doesn't come from perfection, it comes from movement. The world doesn't need your dream when it's polished and flawless. It needs your courage to begin right where you are. There are people who need your voice, your talent, your idea, your light, but they can't receive it if you keep waiting for the perfect moment to share it. Every day you delay, you betray the gift inside you. So stop waiting. Stop preparing endlessly. Stop telling yourself you'll start tomorrow. Life is short, and the perfect moment is now, because the only time you truly have is the present. Kareem's story stands as both a warning and a lesson. If you wait for perfect, you may wait forever. But if you dare to begin, you just might create something eternal. Number 5. Invest in experiences, not just things. There comes a moment in life when you realize that the possessions you once chased so fiercely, the cars, the clothes, the gadgets, the houses, are not what truly define your happiness or shape your legacy. Because things lose value, they break, they fade, they become outdated, but experiences live inside you forever, shaping who you are, what you remember, and how you impact the lives around you. I once met an older man named Jonathan at a retreat, a successful businessman who had spent his entire life building wealth, collecting luxury cars, buying the biggest houses, wearing the finest suits. From the outside, he looked like he had everything. But in one quiet conversation, he said something I'll never forget. I bought everything I thought would make me happy, but the truth is, I barely remember any of it. What I do remember are the vacations I took with my kids, the fishing trips with my father, the moments of laughter with my wife before she passed. His eyes filled with tears as he continued. I worked so hard for things, but it's the experiences I neglected that I miss the most. That moment struck me deeply because it revealed the truth we often ignore in the rush of daily life. When the end of your life comes, you won't hold on to the memory of the watch you wore or the car you drove. You will hold on to the memory of the moments you lived, the adventures you dared to take, the people you shared them with. Think about it. How often do we trade precious time for things that only provide temporary satisfaction, when we could be creating memories that last a lifetime? A shiny new phone will be outdated in 2 years, but a trip where you stood at the edge of the Grand Canyon, or hiked a mountain with friends, or danced under the stars with someone you love, that will never leave you. Experiences become part of your identity. They shape your character, they expand your mind, and they nourish your soul. Jonathan told me that after his wife passed, he would have given away all his cars, all his suits, all his money, just to relive one more evening of laughter with her over a simple dinner. That confession made me realize how misplaced our priorities can become. We work ourselves to exhaustion, chasing material possessions, forgetting that the real wealth of life is in the moments that can't be bought in a store. Investing in experiences doesn't always mean traveling the world or spending large sums of money. It can be as simple as taking your child to the park, sitting with your parents and listening to their stories, volunteering to help those in need, or learning a new skill that enriches your soul. These experiences don't depreciate, they multiply, they ripple through time, they connect you with others in ways that objects never can. And when you invest in experiences, you are also investing in perspective, seeing the world, feeling gratitude, tasting life in its fullness, instead of confining yourself to a cycle of buying and replacing. The truth is, the happiest people are not those who have the most things, but those who have lived the richest experiences, those who have stories to tell, scars to show, memories to share. Jonathan's story is etched into my heart as a reminder that while things may fill your shelves, only experiences will fill your soul. So don't waste your life chasing what can be bought. Instead, chase what can be lived, what can be remembered, what can be passed down as stories long after you are gone. Because at the end of the road, it won't be the price tag of your possessions that defines your life. It will be the depth of your experience. Number 6, your circle shapes your time. The truth about life that few people dare to face is that your circle, the people you allow closest to you, will either elevate you to greatness or drag you into mediocrity. Because every conversation you have, every environment you step into, every relationship you keep is either feeding your growth or wasting your time. And time wasted with the wrong people is time you will never recover. I once knew a young man named Hassan, one of the brightest minds in his university, full of vision, discipline, and potential. He dreamed of becoming an architect who would design buildings that would inspire generations. But Hassan made one mistake. He surrounded himself with friends who did not share his vision, friends who laughed at ambition, who spent their nights in parties, their days in laziness, and their energy in gossip and empty entertainment. At first, Hassan told himself that he was strong enough to stay focused, but slowly, almost invisibly, he began to change. He started skipping classes because his friends skipped. He stopped working on his designs because his circle mocked his seriousness. He wasted late nights in meaningless activities that stole his mornings. Years later, when I met him again, Hassan wasn't an architect. He was working a job he hated, tired and defeated, and in his eyes, I saw the pain of someone who knew he had betrayed his own destiny by choosing the wrong circle. He admitted, with a heavy voice, "I didn't realize they were pulling me down until it was too late." That moment seared into my heart because it reminded me of something we all must accept. You cannot fly if you surround yourself with people who are committed to crawl. The energy of those around you will shape your habits, your thinking, your confidence, and ultimately your future. If you want to rise, you must walk with those who are rising. If you want to grow, you must surround yourself with those who push you to grow. And if you want to protect your time, you must be ruthless about who you give it to. Time spent with people who inspire you multiplies because they plant ideas, fuel courage, and challenge you to be better. But time spent with people who drain you diminishes because it leaves you weaker, distracted, and further from your calling. This is why some of the greatest leaders in history were careful about their circles. They knew that iron sharpens iron, and mediocrity breeds mediocrity. The harsh truth is that not everyone deserves your time. Not everyone deserves access to your energy. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table. Hassan's story remains a reminder of what happens when you compromise, when you believe you can carry dead weight and still climb mountains. The people around you are either anchors or wings. And if you want your life to matter, you must choose wings. Sometimes this means walking away from childhood friends, distancing yourself from family members who don't respect your growth, saying no to toxic relationships, or finding the courage to stand alone until you find the right circle. And though it may be painful, it is necessary, because your future is too valuable to be wasted in the wrong company. Ask yourself honestly, are the people around you pushing you closer to your dreams or pulling you further away? If you want to know your future, look at your circle, because your circle shapes your time, and your time shapes your destiny. Hassan's regret teaches us that the cost of one circle is not just wasted hours, it is wasted potential, wasted dreams, wasted life. So choose wisely, protect your time, and surround yourself with those who remind you, not of who you are, but of who you are capable of becoming. Number 7. Every day is either spent or invested. Every single day of your life is either being spent or invested. And the tragedy is that most people don't realize the difference until years have passed and regret sits heavy on their shoulders, because a spent day is one you will never see the fruit of again. But an invested day is one that pays you back for the rest of your life. I once knew a man named Samuel, a talented athlete in his youth, someone who had the discipline, drive, and raw ability to go professional. But instead of investing his days into training, studying, and preparing for his future, he spent them on short-lived pleasures, late-night parties, video games, endless hours wasted in places and with people who had no ambition. At first, it seemed harmless. He was young, strong, and full of energy, but slowly his choices compounded. By the time his peers were securing scholarships and contracts, Samuel's body was worn, his skills had plateaued, and his opportunities had disappeared. I met him years later at a reunion, and he spoke to me with a voice heavy with sorrow. I spent my youth when I should have invested it. Now all I have are memories of what could have been. That conversation struck me like lightning, because it revealed the dangerous illusion so many fall into, that spending your days on temporary pleasures is the same as living, when in truth, it is slowly killing your potential. Every day you are either planting seeds that will grow into something meaningful, or scattering your energy in ways that will never return to you. An invested day may not feel glamorous. It may look like hours of studying when no one is watching, sweating in the gym while others are relaxing, working on your craft while your friends are out having fun, or saying no to easy comforts so you can build something lasting. But years later, the dividends of those invested days show up in the form of success, strength, confidence, and fulfillment. A spent day, on the other hand, feels easy in the moment, but empties you in the long run. Think about it. What are you doing with your hours? Are you pouring them into your growth, your relationships, your purpose, or are you wasting them on distractions that won't matter in 5 years? The truth is that life compounds. The small investments you make daily, whether good or bad, accumulate and eventually define your destiny. Samuel's story is a painful reminder that you cannot buy back the days you spent carelessly, no matter how much you want to later. You can replace money, you can rebuild possessions, but you cannot rewind time. And that is why wisdom demands that you live each day with awareness, asking yourself, am I spending this day or investing it? Because the answer to that question will be written into your future. Greatness doesn't come from one giant moment. It comes from thousands of small, invested days, stacked on top of each other, until they create a life worth remembering. Do not fall for the illusion of ease. Do not confuse comfort with fulfillment. And do not waste your hours in ways that steal from your tomorrow. Every day you invest in growth, you are building a future self who will thank you. Every day you spend carelessly, you are building a future self who will resent you. Samuel's regret is a warning, but it can also be a lesson for us all. Live today in a way that pays you back tomorrow, because every day is either spent or invested, and when your time runs out, the life you hold will be nothing more than the sum of those choices. Number 8. Dreams die in delay. Dreams don't usually die in one single moment. They die slowly, quietly, suffocated by delay, postponed by the lie that there will always be more time. And if you are not careful, procrastination will become the silent graveyard where your greatest potential is buried. I once knew a woman named Amina who had always dreamed of opening her own bakery. Her recipes were extraordinary, the kind that made people close their eyes after the first bite and smile because they tasted love baked into every crumb. She talked about it often, telling friends and family, "One day I'll open my shop. One day people will line up for my bread and cakes." But every time the chance came to take a step, she hesitated. "I need more money first. I need more time. I need better equipment. I'll do it after things settle down." She convinced herself that the future was endless and her dream could wait. But the years kept moving, as they always do, and the dream that was once vibrant became weaker, quieter, buried under responsibilities, excuses, and fear. When I visited her years later, she was working in a small office, her hands typing on a keyboard instead of kneading dough, her eyes heavy with the weight of what could have been. I asked her if she still baked, and she smiled sadly, saying, "Not as much anymore. I guess I waited too long." That broke my heart, because in that simple sentence lived the death of a dream. Not because she wasn't talented, not because she wasn't capable, but because she delayed too long. And that's how it happens to so many people. They wait for the perfect time, they wait until they feel ready, they wait until all conditions are in place, forgetting that delay is a form of death. The truth is, life does not wait for you. Opportunities expire, energy fades, people move on. The dream you keep postponing will not sit patiently forever. It will weaken with every excuse you make. Think about it. How many books were never written? How many businesses never started? How many songs never sung? How many inventions never created? All because someone chose delay over action. Procrastination is not harmless. It is a killer, because while you are waiting, time is moving, and the door you thought would always be open begins to close. Amina's story is a warning carved into my memory. She had the skill, the vision, the passion, but because she delayed, the world never tasted her gift. Don't let that be your story. Understand this. Dreams demand urgency. You don't need to have everything figured out. You don't need the perfect plan. You don't need flawless conditions. What you need is to begin, to take one step, to plant one seed, to start with what you have, because momentum is born in action, not delay. Every day you move, your dream breathes strong. Every day you wait, your dream grows weaker. The choice is yours, to act now and build a future that fulfills you, or to keep delaying until one day you whisper, "I waited too long." There is no greater pain than looking back at your life and realizing your dreams didn't die because they were impossible, but because you buried them in delay. So begin today, not tomorrow. Write the page, bake the bread, start the business, Speak the words, take this, because if you wait, your dream will die. But if you act even imperfectly, you give it life, and one day that life will become your legacy. Number 9, time alone builds power. Time alone is not emptiness. It is a sacred forge where strength, clarity, and power are created. And yet many people fear solitude as if being by themselves means being abandoned, forgotten, or unloved. When in reality, solitude is a place where you discover who you truly are and what you're truly capable of. I remember a man named Daniel